Hello everybody, and thank you for joining our annual event. We've experimented with this event since the pandemic. Last year we had a hybrid event. This year we are trialing a shorter online-only format to try and engage as many people as possible with the event. But it doesn't mean we won't do in-person events again in the future. You'll be pleased to know that I'm only going to talk for around 15 minutes or so, and then there will be a live Q&A as part of the event. You've submitted, though, more than 100 questions in advance, and we identified various themes within those questions, some of which I hope I'll address in my presentation, and others I hope we'll pick up during the Q&A. Anyway, let's talk about impact is the name of today's event, and that's because money is not a neutral thing. Everywhere where we choose to save, spend, and invest our money has an impact, and it has an impact on future generations. And we believe we provide a very distinctive form of impact in the UK banking marketplace. And that's in a world where terms like impact investing and green finance are becoming ever more commonplace, and more banks position themselves as a greener way to bank or a more socially conscious way to bank. And I'm pleased to say that it's not just us that thinks we offer a real distinctive alternative. Ethical Consumer Magazine and Which continue to rate us as the first choice ethical bank in the UK. And it's also pleasing to see that the rigor of their assessments is also going up year on year. We also benefit from a number of accreditations, and Which last year introduced their eco-provider label. And I'm pleased to say we were one of only 3 banks in the UK to be awarded that status. Fairer Finance also give our savings products their gold ribbon, and Fairer Finance's assessments are based on customer feedback, and what we're particularly proud of is that we rate by some distance as the most trusted bank in the UK in their scores. And we also continue to receive a good ED mark from Good With Money. But our differentiation isn't only about our ratings and our accreditations, it's also about our longevity. And next year, Triodos will celebrate 45 years of trading internationally, and it will be 30 years since Triodos became Triodos Bank in the UK. But with that longevity also comes the responsibility to really continually think about the impact we're having and asking ourselves what society really needs from us today. What are the transitions that we need to be supporting, and where do we need to be deploying our customers' money for most impact? Now, if I step back from Triodos for a moment, we've all become far too familiar with this term polycrisis. And we're all aware of the awful conflicts happening in the world, the very real impacts of climate change, and also the economic pressures of high inflation, high interest rates, and the impact that has on the cost of living for many. And all this at a time where we face some political uncertainty in an election year in the UK. But that is the context in which we have to not only operate, but we also have to try and deliver the transformative impact in which we aspire. And the event opened with a film about Jamie's Farm. And I think that's a terrific example of what we mean by transformative impact. Jamie's Farm was an organisation we supported from their very beginning. We helped them buy their first farm. And this was at a time when they were really pioneering a new form of care farming in the UK. And also when they were trying to demonstrate a new business model, and one that was unproven. And having worked together in partnership for nearly 15 years, it's just fantastic to see now that they have a national network of 7 farms. They are transforming the lives of tens of thousands of children. And that's the kind of transformative impact and the new models and new ways of doing things in society that we aspire to. And we've continued to support like-minded organisations in the last year. Chimpanzees is a fantastic charity, and we have helped them buy a former motorway service station to create the UK's first centre for disabled children and children with severe learning difficulties to simply just play and to be with their families in a safe environment. And it's a really underserved need in the UK outside of educational facilities. And let's hope and dream, and let's dream that chimpanzees once have a similar network of facilities to Jamie's Farm in a truly transformative way. We've also deepened our relationship and our lending to Creative UK. We have always been keen to support the arts and creative industries because They help foster greater human connection, they help break down cultural barriers, and they help us explore innovative and new concepts in a playful way. But what's really exciting about Creative UK's portfolio is they also significantly over-index on the number of female entrepreneurs that are leading organisations and on the number of entrepreneurs that come from underrepresented communities. And then last but not least, we also had a very high-profile loan to Oxygen Conservation last year, and this was more than £20 million, the largest loan to date provided for commercial rewilding and nature's restoration. And this is really a totem in the development of this sector in the UK. And that development is something we try to support more broadly. Last year, we were the lead sponsor of Nature Finance UK, the leading conference on this subject. And we've also supported an upcoming film called City, Land and Sea. And you'll see a trailer for that film later in the event. Now, whilst we continue to do really innovative things with your money and finance high-impact organisations, 2023 was also a very challenging year for the bank. 2022-23 saw the highest levels of small business insolvency since the financial crisis of 2008. And what this graph shows you is that positively, the underlying performance of the business is very stable, but our actual profits last year were very depressed by the extraordinary provisions we had to make for bad debts in the loan book. But the positive in that is despite unprecedented challenging times, we remained profitable. This graph shows you then the balance of our loans to funds entrusted. And the other dynamic that we've had to contend with in a challenging economic environment is higher interest rates mean many organisations put their development plans on hold and are less keen to borrow. We also see a large number of organisations repaying their loans early where they can to avoid higher borrowing costs in a high interest rate environment. And that means our loan book has stayed flat year on year. Our funds entrusted, though, continue to grow. And the positive in this is that means we have very high levels of liquidity. And together with a very strong capital position, it means we have a great platform from which we can grow our lending and increase our impact even further. And that really is our focus going forward. But as we seek to grow, we cannot be complacent. And we also work in a very dynamic banking landscape. And you may have noticed that a number of banks have rationalized their product range and simplified their business models to be as profitable as possible. And we also see a lot of consolidation in the banking sector. And the potential mergers of Nationwide and Virgin Money and of Co-op and Coventry Building Society potentially creates two very large institutions that claim the ethical banking space in different ways, albeit we would argue in a very lower impact way of doing ethical banking. But therefore, it's very important that we continue to invest in and evolve our product range. And this slide is just a reminder of the products that we provide to personal customers, but as an example of things we have developed in the last year on the investment side, where our investments products are rated best by Ethical Consumer magazine, we have made them easier to apply for. We have introduced regular payments so people can pay in monthly to their stocks and shares ISAs. And we have also launched a new fund called the New Generations Fund, which specifically supports organisations that invest in the well-being or development of children. Then on the personal current account and savings products, we've also invested heavily in the services available. They have again become easier to apply for. We now introduced Quick Apply for existing customers to be able to apply for new accounts within the mobile app. We've improved the functionality on our ISA products, making it much more easy for you to manage your money and to transfer your money. And perhaps most importantly, we completed the migration to an entirely new internet banking platform, which provides a range of functionality and accessibility benefits for our customers. And we're not finished there. Expect further improvements in accessibility, but we're also going to soon be launching junior savings products within the mobile app. Those products have been off sale whilst we've been making the investment in that infrastructure. And it's just hugely exciting to know that young people and future generations will again have the chance to bank with Triodos. If I then look at the business product range that we provide, a question I'm often asked is why our business current accounts and savings have been off general sale. We have continued to open them by exception for organisations that we work closely with or are looking to lend to, but we have wanted to make significant investment in those products and divert our resources to do that. Pleasingly, business savings accounts will reopen again in the next few months, and work continues to invest in our business current account product with the aim of reopening it in 2025. All of the things I've just described to you are based on customer feedback, and I'm pleased to say then there's a very positive feedback loop, and we see how we are regarded and rated by our customers improving. So our Trustpilot score has risen to 4 and shows signs of continuing to rise, and that is a relatively high score in the banking sector. And the rating of our app within the App Store has risen to 4.7, which almost puts us on a par with the leading fintech banks in the UK. The next big thing that we're doing is we're rolling out new debit cards to all our current account customers this summer. And this new debit card has the decoration of the pattern of a butterfly wing, which I think is a beautiful metaphor for the transformation that money can make in society, but also as a metaphor for the pollination and connection our customers have with their money in choosing to bank with Triodos. Those who get their new cards will also get details of a new material that it's made of. The market has moved on, and we are now issuing cards in a new material that is the least environmental impact material available on the market. But the most exciting thing about this, and the reason we have done it across all 5 countries in which we operate, is this gives us the platform to introduce mobile payments. And our customers will be able to use mobile payments by the end of this year. And it's very important that we continue to evolve the product range and offer all of the things people expect of us, because we still seek to be a voice in challenging the way banking is done. And it's been a particularly interesting year to try and do that, because the offboarding of one very high-profile individual by Coutts NatWest really created a media storm around the concept of woke banks. And woke is an interesting term, because if you look it up, it means to be alert to social inequalities, injustice and prejudice. And I think every bank would want to be alert to those things. So we tried to enter this debate, and we essentially said in an article that we published that absolutely you should not deprive people of banking facilities based on their political views, so long as those political views are also tolerant of other people's views. But banks should take much more responsibility in which organisations they choose to bank and which organisations they choose to lend money to and invest in. Because ultimately, as I said at the start, money is not neutral, and neither is banking a utility. It is a commercial discretionary service, and we have to channel the power of money in our society in a much more positive way. We do see signs of positive change within the banking industry, but all too often positive change is then often called out to really be greenwashing and not quite as presented. And it's a very positive thing that the Financial Conduct Authority are introducing anti-greenwashing regulation this summer, and it's something we very much support and will help create a level playing field and differentiate the products of banks like Triodos in the marketplace. However, the challenge of this regulation is it puts the highest burden of proof and the highest costs onto banks like Triodos, those that demonstrate they have the highest level of sustainability in their products have the highest burden to do so. Whereas the highest polluting banks have no obligation to prove that they're doing no harm or to provide disclosure on which organisations they are financing. And that is a mindset shift we really have to achieve, and we continue to advocate for. We have to put stronger red lines around the banking industry and think about and direct where money is being used. And that is a point I got a chance to make firsthand to the Governor of the Bank of England when we were very privileged to host him during a recent visit to Bristol. We also continue to try and influence the change finance agenda through a number of partnerships and alliances that I can't do justice to and talk to today. But last year, we supported some of the initiatives of Business Declares as they really try and influence future legislature better care for nature and to better address climate change. We also continue to support the Thriving Places Index in their really pioneering work to try and measure the success of our society and our economy in ways that simply aren't growth in GDP. And we continue to work with and support the wonderful Make My Money Matter campaign, who are doing extraordinary work to penetrate the wider public consciousness on the power of money and how people's money is used. And if you haven't had chance to watch their award-winning Oblivia coal mine film, I would recommend doing so and sharing it as widely as possible. I'm pleased to say that everything I've described to you also continues to receive external recognition. And the British Bank Awards, which are voted for by customers, last year awarded us the Best Ethical Financial Provider once again. And this year, the advocacy and votes by our customers means we are shortlisted in no fewer than 7 categories at the British Bank Awards. So huge thanks to our customers who engage and vote for us. And please don't underestimate the level of advocacy you provide and how that helps position a really alternative bank within the mainstream banking sector. I'm also very pleased to say that we were awarded Charities Bank of the Year at the Charity Times Awards, which I think is great acclaim for our business banking colleagues and our corporate finance colleagues and the great work they do in supporting charities. Now, that success and the kind of impact that we aspire to deliver will only continue if we continue to develop the organisation. And we recently bid a very fond farewell to Judy Rose, who was our Chief Operating Officer for the past 18 years. And Judy was also part of the original 7 people who founded Triodos in the UK in 1995. And she has left behind an organisation of more than 300 co-workers in the UK alone. And I'm very pleased to say that last year we also received an HR Excellence Award, which recognised the innovation and the pioneering approach we had taken to embed sustainability considerations into all of our employee benefits. Internationally, we certified as a B Corp, having originally been a B Corp since 2016, and our recertified score was 131, which really demonstrates we are a front runner in having very high levels of environmental and social consciousness in everything we do as a business. And last, but by no means least, we also continue to deepen our approach and provide leadership on diversity, equity and inclusion. And we entered a new partnership last year with an organisation called Babasa. And I'm very pleased to say that you will hear from the founder of Babasa, Poku Usei, later during the event. So I hope I have provided some degree of inspiration and shown you that I think we deliver extraordinary impact in how we use our customers' money, in how we run our business, and in how we try to be a reference point and a role model and influence the wider banking industry. But it's also important to remember that in the UK, we are just one part of a much bigger international bank, all focused on the same mission. And you're now going to hear from Jaco Minnaar, who is our Group Chief Commercial Officer.